Hello everybody, Ten Hag demands support in the January transfer window as rivals strengthen. Arsenal signing a player today. Also, goalkeeper links, David Raya from Brentford. Is that what Manchester United need in the summer? Also, striker options, long-term and short-term. Is Harry Kane the solution for Manchester United? Some interesting stories about that. Plus, all the discussion from last night's game and a lot more to get into. A little bit about Alanga as well. But look, there's nothing we can do from last night's game other than learn. Disappointing to draw to Crystal Palace, but ultimately it's gone. I was listening to what David De Gea said after the game, Bruno Fernandes, and I think ultimately the game caught up with us. We've played a lot of games recently. We didn't do enough in the second half. Erik Ten Hag said that you can't be reliant on a penalty that should have been given. You've got to go and hunt down that second goal. And we paid the price of not being able to score the second goal. And I think it was a multitude of reasons. I think we missed Anthony Martial. I think Anthony had a poor game. I don't think Garnacho made the impact from the bench. And I think Marcus Rashford got a little bit found out as a striker. He's not a striker. He works in certain situations as a striker when the game is stretched, like it was against Man City. But when you're playing against an organised Crystal Palace side who aren't going to play a high line, they're not going to go for it, Marcus Rashford becomes a little bit nullified because he's all about the pace. So, and also I think Rashford last night was looking for that goal. I'm glad that record's gone because I think there was times where he could have passed it and maybe was looking for that winner to keep the run going, to keep United's run going. So, yeah, I am doing City versus Spurs tonight, Ryan, on That's Football. So, look, I want to fly straight into it, though. Erik Ten Hag demands January transfer help. And I think this is so important. If you're waking up this morning, you will see, and I agree with Robbo, we simply wasn't good enough. We bottled it, weak mentality. I thought the defence was good enough. I thought the attack was not good enough. You might have seen it this morning, Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein talking about Arsenal moving for Trossard from Brighton. And this is the issue at Manchester United. This is the issue. Everything about last night is exactly what many of us predicted. I said it back in August. I don't think we'll get top four because I don't think we've got the squad to get top four in a season where you will end up playing 3 times a week, where the World Cup is going to exhaust players. You're going to hit fatigue like a brick wall. And we've already dropped 5 points from fatigue. We played Thursday night in Spain and we had to go to Villa, who'd had a week off and a new manager, and they beat us and we were knackered. Basically gave up 3 points. Second half yesterday, another 2 points dropped, which we should have held on to when you've done all the hard work in the first half. I think it's really interesting that ultimately what a lot of us have predicted is now becoming a bit of a reality. The squad depth, even Casemiro yellow card, that's not fatigue, that's just a midfielder picking up 5 yellow cards and missing our biggest game of the season. These things all add up when you don't have the squad. I do not believe we've got the squad to compete for the things that we could compete for. And what we are in January now, and Erik Ten Hag has hinted at this 3 or 4 times. He even said it at the weekend. The Weghorst deal gives me options. If we can get more players in like that, that's a good thing. But they've got to be the right players. He wants them. He wants them. How many fans need to bloody wake up and listen to what the manager is saying? Oh, he shouldn't pick Casemiro. He told you why he picked Casemiro. Martial's crap. He's told you what Martial brings to the team. He doesn't want any more signings. He's told you he wants more signings. It's clear as day that he needs them, and he's telling you that as well. And ultimately, if United are not to achieve whatever it is you want, whether it's top 4 in the Carabao Cup, whether it's a title race, whether it's the Europa League, the FA Cup, all those things are in jeopardy because Manchester United is still not being run like a football club. I look at what Arsenal are doing with Trossard. You've got a manager that's over-exceeding expectations, playing good football, winning games, put themselves in a position where in the second half of the season they can go and achieve what matters. Doesn't matter where you are in January. Oh, the semi-final of the Cup. Oh, we're nearly in a title race. Oh, we could win the FA Cup and the Europa League. Nothing is done until May. What are Arsenal doing? What are they doing for Arteta? They're going, what's the issues? You're top of the league. We don't need to spend money. And he's going, well, yeah, I do, because it's a very hard season. There's lots of big games. And if that player and that player gets injured, that position starts to drop. All right, okay, what can we do to help? Well, I need a player here and I need a player here. And what are they doing? They're going to go and get it. Put Ten Hag in that situation, who's been there for way less than Arteta, way less, and has exceeded expectation massively. And what is he getting? He's getting a loanee from Burnley. Whereas Arsenal are going to go and buy a player from Brighton who are playing fantastic and he's one of their better players. You can't sum it up any better than that. And I think some of our fans are like, well, it's the last one. It's the last one. The Glazers will be gone in the summer and then it's fine. They're getting a bloody free ride. They might not be gone in the summer. The deal might not be done by the summer. They might mess up another transfer window. God forbid, they might stay on and have some investment in. I don't think it's acceptable to just sit there and go, well, there's no point in moaning. Ten Hag's done a good job, and in the summer we'll have a proper owner in. I mean, so we just quit on another season. Bloody hell! I'm not asking for Enzo Fernandez. I'm just saying, get him a couple of players, a couple of options. I don't think Weghorst's a starter. I think Weghorst is starting because Martial's injured. I think it's very clear that Weghorst probably isn't a starter for a team that's going to challenge for the title or top four. But he's an option, and you can see what his options are. I think Weghorst last night, half an hour off the bench, would have been bloody perfect. Obviously, we can't use him because we had to start him. So we need more options. And I think it's very obvious that if you watched the game yesterday, and I'm sure many of you did, it's very obvious that United, with 2 weeks left in this transfer window, should be exhausting every bloody database and bloody agent they can contact to see if there is another deal or two that we can do to help this manager. Because I look at second half yesterday and I watched the highlights again this morning. We did nothing in the second half. The only thing in the second... You're 1-0 up away from home and you've got 3 points in the bag. And what do you do in the second half? Rely on your defence. For 45 minutes away from home against a team that's desperate for a result. And look, it was a worldie that got them the result, but it wasn't a surprise. What did we do on the attack? Sod all. The only thing we did was a penalty. And that wasn't given. You can't rely on VAR. So why didn't we score in the second half? Because he's looking on the bench and he's got 3 kids. Garnacho, Elanga and Pellistri. Well, Pellistri never plays. Elanga, I think we've all seen enough of. And Garnacho can't be expected to be the game changer every game. I mean, he did it at Fulham before the World Cup. He's already won his 3 points from a draw. I mean, how many times are we going to expect a player like that to do that? I know it's stupid, but it's good because now our feet is on the ground and the dream of title will be gone, says Yanir. Look, I completely agree with you on that. I think reality strikes. Zane says, as strikers keep playing the graveyard shift, why don't you sign the Undertaker? And we should be all over that Trossard deal, says Julian. Look, there is nothing wrong with drawing to Crystal Palace and bouncing back to reality. I completely agree with what Yanir is saying. The Premier League is the best league in the world. It's the most competitive deal in the world, competitive league in the world. And you can't be so arrogant as to think that you're going to win every bloody single game that you play because we've been winning a lot of games. I'm not surprised that we draw with Palace. What did I say to you? My score prediction was actually 2-2, and then I changed it to 2-1 because I thought, I want to keep the momentum going. But I did feel like it was going to be a draw before the game because I didn't disrespect Palace. So in many ways, that's fine. But ultimately, you've got to look at why we drew the game. I feel we won the game. I think we did the work in the first half. Palace had one shot and it was a worldie, and David De Gea saved it. We dominated them. We dominated the possession. You're 1-0 up at half time. And ultimately, in my opinion, the reason we drew that game is because we're knackered. Fatigue, nothing on the bench. Now, the scary thing is, and this is not Ten Hag's fault. This is not Ten Hag's fault. You look at that bench and a rival fan has got every right to say, you've got nothing on the bench. Maguire, 80 million. Lindelof, 25 million. Malacia, 13 million. Fred, 50 million. All right, McTominay's from the youth. Elanga's from the youth. Pellistri cost you 5. Garnacho's from the youth. But they're still touching, 200 million quid on the bench? That is terrifying because I wouldn't have wanted to bring any of them on. I wouldn't trust any of them to come on apart from Malacia, and obviously he's a left back, and Garnacho. The rest of them to score me a goal. And I can't. Malacia's not going to score me a goal. The only player I would trust on that bench to score me a goal is Garnacho, and he's a kid. And the only reason I don't trust Pellistri is because we've not seen enough of him, and we've seen enough of Elanga. So you're away from home, you're halfway there, you've won the game, you can rely on your defence, you need the second goal, and the only person we've got at Manchester United is an 18-year-old Garnacho to come on and get us the second goal. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the only players we've got to come back are Jadon Sancho and Anthony Martial. Well, Anthony Martial can't stay fit, and Jadon Sancho, well, look, we shouldn't be putting pressure on him anyway. So, look, I agree with what MW says. Telemans would be a great backup midfielder. I mean, look, you can do something really brave, or you can settle with what you've got, or you can try and do a Weghorst. I think United have got 3 options, and they will make one of these choices. The brave option is somebody wants to buy Scott McTominay for 30 million, take the 30 million, get a midfielder in that's going to make a difference. McTominay's not a match winner, so you can be brave. You can be brave and bring some money in and spend it. They won't do that, but they could do that. Option 2 is to do absolutely nothing and just have Weghorst. That's probably the most likely option. Option 3 is to go and get 1 or 2 loan deals like Weghorst that give us some depth. They should be doing option 1 or 3. They'll probably do option 2, which is nothing. But I hate being right. I hate being right. I'm sure many of you hate being right when your prediction is not something that's what you want. My prediction is we top 4, whatever. I'm still not convinced, but I am looking at this United side and things are happening quicker than I thought. I felt that February and March was when the season would start to become difficult because of tired players who've played too much football. Here we are in the middle of January, and we've just dropped 2 points to Palace because we were tired in the second half. Delot, Martial and Van der Beek are injured. That's 3 players out injured and 2 points dropped, and we're only in the middle of January. How is this going to get... I don't want to be the prophet of doom, but I think Ten Hag has hinted at this anyway. How is this going to get better in February, March, April? It's just logical that they're going to become more tired. Morning, Mark. The club needs to help our manager. The players are doing so well. The bench is weak, says Pauline. 100%. 100%. But I think this club is just so focused on selling the club at the moment. And can I just say as well, I really want to say this. Woke up this morning, had the radio on, heard a few people saying it. Casemiro shouldn't make that tackle. It's irresponsible. And he's cost his team on Sunday. Absolute nonsense. And some of these people have played the game. They're absolute prats. Look, Casemiro was brilliant again last night, and he's been brilliant, and he's a huge loss against Arsenal. But when you're halfway through the season and your centre defensive midfielder is on 4 yellow cards, I'd be a bit disappointed if he wasn't. He is the only combative midfielder we've got. Eriksen doesn't tackle. Bruno doesn't tackle. You can't moan when Casemiro's on 4 yellow cards. You can't moan about that. And you can't moan when he picks a yellow card up. I don't know whether any of you've played the game, but some of these people who are talking about this, I think it was Ali McCoy's this morning saying Casemiro shouldn't do that yellow card. He doesn't need to make that tackle. Well, for one, you're a bloody striker and you didn't press from the front in your day. And for 2, you've played the game, Ali. You've played the game. What are you talking about? Do you not know what it's like to play the game? Of course it is. You scored loads of bloody goals. Brilliant striker Ali McCoy was. What has happened with Casemiro there is, we all know it's a yellow card, and we're all going, why have you done that? But if you've played the game, you know why he's done it. That is what Casemiro is. Brazilian, Real Madrid player. Zaha's got past him, and all logic goes out the window because you're playing a high competitive game. Player goes past you like that, you're not getting past me. Takes him out. It's inbuilt into him. Martinez would do the same. Maybe it's a South American thing, maybe it's not. But the logic behind Casemiro shouldn't make that tackle is the same as saying, well, Casemiro shouldn't have won a load of Champions League and be one of the best CDMs in the world. It's what makes him that. It's what makes him that. As soon as he's done it, he's realised what he's done. But it's that professional pride. It's who you are. That player's got past me. No, you're not. He's got that in him. You're not getting... People say, oh, he shouldn't have made the tackle and let him run past him. Well, he's not Casemiro then, is he? That's the thing. I've got no issue with Casemiro missing the game against Arsenal at the weekend because, as I said, 19 games in, 5 yellow cards for the only midfielder we've got who tackles. I mean, it's not rocket science. The bigger issue is, where's the backup to Casemiro? That's the problem. That is the big question. If we had a centre defensive midfielder that could nearly do the job, we'd be like, oh, so disappointing, but they'll play. The problem is, we don't have anybody who can do that job. People are talking about Martinez, quite rightly, who's never played there for Manchester United, but has for Ajax, because we're all terrified of Fred or McTominay holding the midfield. And that's the problem as well. Trossard will be ready for Sunday, says Zayn Miasi. And Rashford didn't look right yesterday, maybe carrying something from City, but we only have Garnacho to give him a night off, says Daniel Kirk. Look, Rashford's played a lot of football. He has played a lot of football. There's no doubt about that. Mark, I would have made that tackle as well, says Mikael Roach. I just don't think you can sit there logically and say Casemiro doesn't need to make that tackle if you don't know who Casemiro is. He makes the tackle because he wants to make the tackle because that's who he is. For me, McTominay should have come on for Casemiro, Garnacho for Rashford, Fred for Eriksen, Alanga for Verkhurst. These would have been my subs. Matt Thrower. So you'd have brought Alanga on, who's been total shit for Weghorst. You'd have brought Fred on for Eriksen, not bad. You'd have brought Garnacho on for Rashford, and you'd have brought McTominay on for Casemiro. We would have lost the game, Matt. We'd have lost the game. I'm sorry. Look, I'll say this as well before we move on to some transfer news. What's his name? Goldstein on TalkSport. I had to quote tweet it last night. He was like, I've been saying all week Casemiro shouldn't play in this game. Oh, forgot you were the Man United manager, mate. You got a talk show on TalkSport and you think you're the Man United manager. I mean, he called me a Forest fan a couple of years ago because I was being negative. And there he is, doing a tweet after a bloody game that we've drawn, saying, well, I've been saying all week we shouldn't pick Casemiro. I forgot you've got UEFA licence. What are you bloody talking about? You see, these people get away with being, subconsciously negative. Erik Ten Hag explained why he picked Casemiro. Erik Ten Hag has revolutionised this football club and he's on a great run, and we drew. We didn't lose. And people are coming out, I told you we shouldn't pick Casemiro. Oh, did you? I'll file that in the toilet with the paper I've just wiped my arse with because it's completely irrelevant. You're not the Manchester United manager who's explained why we picked him. I don't get that. And the best thing about these people is, if he hadn't picked Casemiro and we got beat 2 or 3-0 because McTominay gets dominated as he hides away in the midfield, people would have gone, you've got to get the points. Why has he rested Casemiro? That's embarrassing. You've got to get the points. And don't tell me that those people wouldn't. At the end of the day, we've got a manager that we need to back. So back the manager. I'm not bothered about the Casemiro yellow. I hope Ten Hag is bold and goes with Martinez in DM and Luke and Varane at the back, says Pranav. I think there was a chance that Luke Shaw might have been playing at left centre-back anyway against Arsenal, regardless of whether Casemiro was out. So it could open it up. But we'll preview. We might do the Arsenal preview tonight on the 8 o'clock show. I don't know, but we'll preview Arsenal soon enough. Maybe we'll do it at 2 o'clock. But what I will say is, if you play Scott McTominay, we're going to lose. You can't go from that. I said this before the game, and somebody didn't understand the analogy. You cannot go from Casemiro to Scott McTominay against Arsenal. It is like going to work on the train in a designer suit with your hair just cut in the barbers, smelling like you've come out of a perfume shop. That's Casemiro. Everyone's looking at you going, you're amazing. Contrast that with Scott McTominay. It's like walking down the train, you've not had a shower, you've not done your hair, and you're walking around in your pants. It's not McTominay's fault. You're talking about one of the best CDMs in the world and somebody who can't even play the position. So we can't do that in a game like that. I would be wide open for trying something different. Now, unfortunately, we don't actually have a centre defensive midfielder. Fred's not a centre defensive midfielder. Eriksen's not a centre defensive midfielder. So I think you've got to try and do something out of the box. And I agree that Martinez may well be the out of the box option on that, to be honest with you. God knows what's going on with the lighting here, but it's pissing me off. I look like I'm under a bloody... I need to fix this for tomorrow morning. After Casemiro got booked, I have a feeling Arsenal was in their heads for a lot of those players, says Nemanja, and I don't think so. We had a chance to win it at the end. Need at least 2 players, says Kisely. 1 midfielder and 1 forward for the Arsenal game. Maybe a back line of Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Shaw, says Kisely. Thank you very much. Mark, would you play Martinez CDM? Sure, yes I would. Mikael Roach, getting a lot of people talking about this. He made the tackle in the 80th minute. If we'd put the game to bed like we should have, he could have come off before then, says Glennie. Look, I don't know whether you watched Erik Ten Hag after the game yesterday, but I definitely do think that he was fuming with the attack, and I think he's got every right to be fuming with the attack, because you're right, if we got the second goal, Casemiro would have come off in the 65th minute. So if you're looking for somebody to blame, and I don't think we do need someone to blame. The team's done really well and it's tired. He hasn't got any options on the bench. That's why I think we drew yesterday. But yeah, he would have made those changes, definitely. There is a number of players on the market coming to the end of their contracts. Competent directors Would be looking at loan and swap deals. The squad is thin and without reinforcements, top four is a dream, says Charlie. Glennie, it's interesting how people change their mind, don't they? I mean, I think at half-time yesterday, somebody said to me, I can't believe you're still not saying we're going to get top four, Mark. And I said, but we're not. There's still 57 points to play for. I think we've played a game more than a lot of people now. So there's 57 points to play for, and we're about 10 points clear of top four. You know, it can change around. It can change around. I'm not going to say we've got top four yet because, as I say, injuries, etc., could rock us. They really, really could. I think Anthony needs the time maybe to do what Sancho has had to do. He seems to run at players, not know what to do and pass it back, says Reese. Welcome to the Members Club, Ash. Look, without a question, there's improvement for Anthony. Of course there is. I think the only wide players that are doing well for us at the moment are Garnacho and Rashford. Kaz made that tackle knowing full well what it meant. That's why he stood up and stared down at Bruno for missing his tackle, says Tariq. I don't think he knew full well what it meant, mate. I don't think you've probably played a game of football in your life if you think that. I don't think he was in control of his emotions when he did that. I think it was Casemiro, who's played football at the highest level for the last decade. A player went past him and he went into auto mode. Watch him for Brazil, watch him for Real Madrid. He takes the player out every single time. You know, you're asking a player to not play their game. There's no way Casemiro saw Zaha go past him and goes, oh, I'm going to get a yellow card to miss the Arsenal game. If that's what you're saying, I think that's bloody ridiculous and it's offensive. There's no way he did that tackle thinking, I'm going to miss the Arsenal game. He did that tackle because that's the player he is. Somebody's gone past him. He knows it's dangerous. It's what Man City do. You know, Man City make the tackle in the opponent's half to stop the momentum of the attack. Casemiro's just done what he's done for the last decade. He's just made that someone's gone past him and it's autopilot. You take them out. You take them out to snuff out the danger. Instinct is the word, Andrew Macari, yes. There's absolutely no way he's gone into that thinking, oh, you know, I'm going to make that tackle and I'm going to miss the game against Arsenal. He'd be gutted that he's missing the game against Arsenal because he's that sort of player, 100%. Couple of stories I just want to bring you as well. Interested to get your thoughts on this. I think it was in the somebody will know in the chat. There was a story yesterday. I think it was the Telegraph about a couple of transfer stories. Anyway, let's just change pace for a moment. A couple of stories. First one, I think it was the Telegraph. They were talking about Brentford goalkeeper Raya. Raya. Let's have a look at him. David Raya at Brentford. Available in the summer for £15 million, apparently. Contract up in June 2024. So he's got a year left on his contract in the summer, hence the cheaper price. 27 years of age. Man United have been linked to him, and as have our Spurs and Chelsea. I think with a player like that, who is a very good player, for 15 million quid, it's one of those where you sort of want to jump at it and go, for 15 million quid, that's not a bad deal to do. My only reservation about it is, what's your thoughts that United being interested in Carlson? I don't know anything about it, Lil. My reservations about getting someone like David Raya in are that he would want to play first team football. And I know there's a group of fans out there that want to replace De Gea, but you know, if you've not learned, I don't want to dictate opinion. That's not what I am. But you're never going to change my opinion. And I think yesterday we saw why you don't replace David De Gea. That save he made in the first half, not many goalkeepers are going to make that. Not because they can't make it. Most goalkeepers could make a world-class save like that. But in the circumstances, it's so difficult. It's cold. You're away from home. You've had nothing to do. It's right before half-time. You've not had a warm-up save. You know, you've hardly done anything. The last time you've dived was probably 50 minutes ago in the warm-up. And then suddenly it's right in the top corner and you've got your positioning right and you've got your fingertips on it and you're tipping it onto the bar. That is what a top goalkeeper is. It's what Peter Schmeichel used to do. It's that ability to just change the game in a moment and concentrate, and it's experience and it's focus. And I mentioned this a few weeks ago with Dubravka. He's a good goalkeeper. He plays in front of 75,000 people at Old Trafford. He's miskicking the ball. He's coming for crosses and getting nowhere near it. It's such a difficult thing that only, I think, age and experience as a fan you evidence it, because you remember what happened after Schmeichel. Is that even a goalkeeper that you think is a good goalkeeper will be shit at Man United. Probably the same at Liverpool as well, because it's the club, it's the aura, it's the crowd, it's the expectation. It's not just about being a shot stopper, it's about the mentality as well, which is something I always had an issue with Dean Henderson about. I just don't think his personality, too much self-belief, too eager to please. I think you need a level head, and David De Gea provides us with that. I'm not saying that Dean Henderson won't be a future Man United goalkeeper, but I didn't think he was 2 years ago, and I was right. I think that bringing in David Raya for £15 million wouldn't be a bad idea, but what would it do for him, and what would it do for De Gea? I think the ability. I think what we need to do is bring a younger goalkeeper in with the potential to be as good as De Gea in 2 or 3 years' time, and work under De Gea. That's what we need to do. I always mention Lafont. I don't want us to buy Lafont, but he is an early 20s goalkeeper, and I think he's out of contract next summer as well. You bring him in, he plays more. I mean, the problem with Tom Heaton is that he ain't never going to take over the job from David De Gea. So you either bring a goalkeeper in like that, who's just happy to be the understudy, and it's always going to be De Gea, or you bring in a younger goalkeeper who's happy to be an understudy but learns from De Gea and takes the number 1 shirt. And I think that's what we need to do. If Dean Henderson had the attitude of, I'm happy to be here for the next 3 years and learn from David De Gea, he'd probably be our number 1. But again, his personality wasn't right. He wanted the number 1 shirt now. And I think he thought, oh, that just shows that I want the shirt, which is fine. But there's a lot to learn. And we need a goalkeeper to come in whilst De Gea is still at the top. But De Gea's not going to be at the top in 3 or 4 years' time. So bring a goalkeeper in that's young, patient, and wants to learn. Because I tell you what, if we could have brought a younger goalkeeper in to learn off Schmeichel, I think we'd have been in a better position. Because if you can learn from a goalkeeper that's done it all, seen it all, have a good relationship with him. I spoke to Ben Foster about this a few months ago, and he said, actually, if you look at Man City, is it Scott Carson? He knows he's never going to play, but he has a great relationship with Ederson. I don't know whether he is their backup goalkeeper anymore. I don't think he is, but he said a lot of goalkeeping situations, you're the number 1 and they're the understudy, and they know that. And you get on really well and you have a really good relationship. And I think United need to get back to that, where you've got the number 1 in De Gea, you've got the understudy, but that understudy needs to be talented and willing to learn and soak it up like a sponge, so that in about 2 years' time he takes it. That's what you need to do. Because I don't actually think that's logical anyway. I don't think, because of the status of the club and because how difficult it is to be a goalkeeper for a Man United or a Liverpool, I don't think it's actually a very good way to go, I bought a goalkeeper to be the number 1, because next season you're probably going to drop a lot of points. I think the logical thing is to bring a goalkeeper in, give them a few Carabao Cup games, build them up through David De Gea's experience. But look at De Gea yesterday. Why would you change that? And also, in the second half, his passing was brilliant. As soon as Weghorst went off and we stopped hitting the long ball, which was obviously a tactic, and we started passing out from the back, he was very, very good. So, I thought De Gea played really well yesterday. So I wouldn't rule out going for Raya, but to be honest with you, we don't need a first-choice goalkeeper, and I don't think he'd be happy to be second choice, and I don't think we need a situation where we've got 2 goalkeepers competing for the number 1 spot. I've never known that, and I don't think it works. Look at Chelsea with Mendy and Kepa. It's been, their season has not been consistent, has it? Mark, you could play CDM for us. You've got a 99 rating, says Mikael Roach. Yeah, let's go with Martinez. The other story I wanted to talk to you about was an interesting one. I think it was from Matt Law in the Telegraph, I think it would be the Telegraph. Basically talking about Harry Kane's future. Obviously, this is not going to help us in January. I spoke about it at the start of the show. Got to get some players in January, or this season's in danger of just crumbling away through fatigue and injury and suspension and everything else. It's only the middle of January. We've already dropped 2 points and picked up 3 injuries. The World Cup players, that fatigue hasn't hit them yet. The World Cup players who started playing at the start of August, they're going to hit about March, February, and they're going to be dead on their feet. You can't do that. So things are here to come. Gabriel says, I still don't want Kane. Well, the story was this. Harry Kane is going to leave Spurs in the summer, in my opinion. He wants... The only way he would stay at Spurs is if they get Champions League football, which I don't think they will. And even then, I think he'll probably still go. And he wants to stay in England because he wants to break the Alan Shearer goal-scoring record. So he's not going to go to Bayern Munich, which is what some people think. Can't go to Arsenal, obviously, because he's a Spurs player. Unlikely to go to Chelsea for the same reason, although I would never rule Chelsea out. Newcastle, if they get Champions League football, outside chance, but probably not where he'd want to go. And obviously he can't go to Man City and Liverpool because they've invested big money in Haaland and Nunez, which leaves Man United as the favourites to sign Harry Kane. United have always been big admirers of Harry Kane, there is no doubt about that, and he would be at the top of any recommendation from our current scouting and recruitment department. The story goes on to say that Ten Hag isn't 100% convinced about Harry Kane, big admirer of him, but feels that a younger striker who's more mobile will benefit Manchester United in the short term and the longer term, especially when Harry Kane will be 30 in the summer. Again, if that's what Ten Hag thinks, I can only applaud it because it's exactly what I think. Absolute respect for Harry Kane, without doubt, one of the best strikers in the world. But at 30 years of age, I don't think that's what Man United should be doing for the future. And also, Harry Kane, whether you like it or not, if you look at his between his 20s and his 30s, although the last 2 years haven't been particularly bad, he has picked up a lot of injuries. And I don't think Harry Kane fits into the category of the player that's going to be scoring goals at the highest level into their late 30s, like a Zlatan or a Ronaldo or even a Lewandowski. I think Harry Kane is English. Slow Sports News, I think he's English, and I think he fits into the category of what normally happens is that we tend to overplay our players in England. Whether it's Marcus Rashford, Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney, we've got a tradition of overplaying players. And I think Harry Kane's probably played too much football between 20 and 30, and I personally think he will fall off a cliff in his early 30s. He's a big lad as well. He's a big lad. He's a heavy runner. I don't see Harry Kane scoring goals in his mid-30s. I think he will have injury problems in his 30s. So I don't think it would be the right move for Manchester United. I agree that an Osimhen or a younger striker would be a better idea. And also, I do like Harry Kane, and if we bought him, I'd back him, and I think he'd probably do well if he could stay fit for 2 or 3 years. But I quite like United. I quite like what we've been doing. Obviously, Casemiro doesn't fit this bill, but Martinez, Anthony, Malacia, I like those sort of signings where you buy a player and they become your star. I would like us to buy a younger player and become a Man United star for us. I'm not really up for buying players that are somebody else's star, if you know what I mean. And it can work, but it's worked with Casemiro and Varane. Thoughts on Jesse quotes on the Glazers? There's no control and the facilities are not modernised. Second player to come out, says Omar. I've not seen the Jesse Lingard thing, and I probably won't watch it because at the end of the day, well, I might watch it, but I won't watch it for the reason I think some people will watch it. Because I saw a couple of clips about, he almost felt like he was forced out of United and he wasn't getting game time when he deserved it. And on a footballing level, he's sort of saying, I decided to go. Well, that makes me worry about United that they're even thinking of keeping him. Like, he should have gone a long time ago. As a player, he's not good enough. But look, obviously, you always get interesting insights in those sort of podcasts to behind-the-scenes stuff. But look, if you need Jesse Lingard to tell you that the Glazers are bad owners, where have you been for the last 17 years? And obviously, the players can't say anything when they're under contract at United because they won't get paid. But they're a bloody joke, aren't they? I think we all know that. Is Lingard still crying about Man United? He needs to move on, says Times End. Osimhen would be good, but experience and plenty of suitors, so it should be difficult, says Paul Lucas. If we want to sign Osimhen in the summer, and I want us to sign Osimhen in the summer, but if we want to sign Osimhen in the summer, we need that deal to buy Man United done fast. And I mean fast. I saw something yesterday that the Glazers are hopeful of having the sale done by the end of March. Does that mean we'll have new owners in by the end of March? Because that seems ridiculously fast to me. Or does that mean they'll accept a bid at the end of March? Because if they accept a bid at the end of March, then when do the new owners actually get in? My concern is that, and look, Chelsea are the blueprint here. Chelsea agreed a sale. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Chelsea agreed a sale in April, maybe early May, but they didn't get control of the club properly until the back end of June was when they started doing business. So there was about a 2-month gap after the bid had been accepted before they were actually in and able to do any business. Well, if we have a new owner announced at the end of March, that wouldn't be too bad because by the end of May they'd be in place to do stuff. But it's very tight parameters, isn't it? It's a very tight time frame, and I think I'm not to stress about it, but the summer transfer window, Bellingham is already in talks with the teams he's going to go to. I presume we can't be in those talks because we haven't even got a bloody owner. So Griezmann all those years ago who pulled out in the summer, we've been working on that deal since the November. So, it can be impactful when you don't have stability around your ownership. And, all United can do and all Ten Hag can do and all the recruitment team can do is highlight the players that they want and potentially talk to them and say, look, we're interested. But if that agent says, well, look, put your money where your mouth is, United can't do it. So we could miss out on players. Hopefully not, but we could miss out on players because we don't know who the next owner is going to be, and therefore you don't know what money is going to be available, and you can't really start making promises. Charlie says Jesse can jog on. The jumping on Ronaldo bandwagon, he should be blessed he got to say he is a United player for as long as he did, says Charlie. And Mark, you're doing a watch along tonight? I am, Jonathan. So yeah, I am doing it tonight. So that means our 8 o'clock show tonight will be 7 o'clock, of course, not 8 o'clock. I did mention that earlier. I am going to do Man City Spurs tonight at 8 o'clock on That's Football as a watch along. So we'll do United stand 8 o'clock at 7 o'clock tonight. Liverpool have earmarked Bellingham and Nunez, says Bear. Well, look, I'm not going to disagree with you, mate. If Liverpool are in the same boat as us, if you get investment or you sell, you'll have a lot of money to spend as well. Twitch is back at 3 o'clock as well, Ryan Butcher. Episode 1 of Goldbridge Does Man United Career Mode. Purposely waited for Ten Hag to have a 5-month head start. The Goldbridge Career Mode, where I'm not going to buy anybody in the first summer. I'm just going to go at it the same as Eric. And Ronaldo won't even be in my team either. 3 o'clock this afternoon. But I'm on at 2 o'clock on here anyway, so I can remind you about that then. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. We're nearly at 1,000 likes. Predictions for the Spurs game. Well, I'm not going to do a prediction for the Spurs game. What do you think about Martinez as centre defensive midfielder, says Fortune? Look, a lot of people are talking about this. I'm still disappointed about last night. And I will say this, and some people say you sound like Jesse Marsh for Leeds. When you draw a game and you're disappointed, it shows you the progress you're making. Some people laugh at that, but it is true. It is true. And I'm sure many of you feel like me this morning. I'm so disappointed with that draw. I'm so disappointed, but that shows progress because we've been on such a good run, and ultimately we didn't deserve to win it, really. We didn't create a hatful of chances in the first half. Our best chance we scored, and in the second half we created nothing. It just didn't feel. I think we just got so close to winning it that it hurt in the end. But I think David De Gea said at the end of the day, when you look across the game, we probably didn't do enough to win it, and a draw was the fair result. And I think he's probably right on the balance of the play. I thought we'd had a really good first half for an away performance. The second half was just dreadful going forward, wasn't it? Really, really bad. But look, Arsenal on Sunday. We'll preview that later on. Let's just have a look if we've got any other news coming in. Make sure you smash a like on video. Thanks everybody tuning in this morning. I feel that United need to start getting active in transfer market. Of course they do, whether they will or not. I suspect. Look, I'll be absolutely blunt here. Why not? This is not the first time Manchester United have written off a season in January. And there'll be people in outrage going, "Now, what are you talking about? What are you talking about writing off the season in January?" I'm talking about the ownership. I'm talking about the board. I'm talking about their lack of football knowledge. Because last season, we could have got top four. We could have got top four last season. The team was a disgrace, I know. We had loads of injuries. And all Rangnick wanted was a midfielder and an attacker. And they wouldn't do it. And you know what they said? We're not buying in January because we're waiting for our manager in the summer. We scraped Europa League because West Ham were crap. We could have ended up in the Conference League. That's your owners there. We didn't deserve Europa League last year. We scraped it. West Ham lost their last 2 games. If they'd won one of them, I think they would have finished above us. So they wrote the season off in January when the manager wanted 2 players. Cheap as well. 2 cheap players to get him through. And they wrote it off, and we could have been in the Conference League. That was just jam on toast that we were in the Europa League. 2 years before that, I think that was the year where we'd been top of the league, and we needed a striker. What did they do? They went and got a Garlo at the end. And then this year, the worst of the lot for me. Amazing season, really, really positive strides, exhausted squad that's going to get more and more tired. Desperately, the manager needs a couple of options. He's lost a player. Donny van der Beek's out for the season. I mean, I'd still think we need a couple of players even if Donny was fit. With Donny out for the season, that's a place that needs filling. Starting to pick up issues with Delo and Martial again. If they don't bring anybody else in apart from Weghorst, I'm sorry. Ten Hag is not writing the season off. The players are not writing off the season, and we're not writing off the season. But this will be the 3rd time in 4 years that this board, director of football, owners, whatever you want to call it, the collective, have written this season off. And convinced me I'm wrong on that. Like, I'm looking at Arsenal going at getting Trossard. I'm looking at what Chelsea are doing for Potter. I don't know whether Spurs and Newcastle are going to do something, but they probably will do in the last week. We've got to do something. Everybody can see at this moment in time, you are not doing what the manager deserves. He deserves help. He deserves options. And at the moment, he hasn't got any. And that was why we drew yesterday. Because, let's be honest, when all said and done, he looks to the bench. His attack is knackered. Eriksen's knackered. Bruno's knackered. Rashford's knackered. Weghorst has to come off because he's only trained a couple of times. He turns behind him. He's got Anthony Elanga, Palestri and Garnacho. That's not good enough. I mean, fair play to the youngsters. Hopefully all of them will have great careers, but that is not good enough in a Premier League season like this, where your first team players are exhausted, and he looks behind him and he goes, right. And there was no point bringing Elanga on, because Elanga, that Crystal Palace defence would have gone, push the line up. It's such a hard thing to do as a manager when you look behind and you know you've got players that aren't good enough as the tired players on the pitch. It's so difficult. And that's why you keep players on the pitch. Because you're like, all right, Rashford's knackered, but if I take him off, Palace are going to step up 10 yards. They're going to go for it more. Because we're going to go from 10.5 men to 10 men straight away. And that's nothing against Elanga, but he never delivers. He's not ready to deliver. And I think some people think, well, fresh legs are better than tired legs. They're not. It's one of the biggest myths in the world. Fresh legs are not better than tired legs. My legs would have been fresh. My back wouldn't, but my legs would have been fresh. It's not an option. Now, Tyler says, Elanga update. Look, but Borussia Dortmund really want Elanga. There's another update this morning. They really, really want him. The encouraging thing is, if we let that happen, then surely we've got to replace him. But I don't see Elanga going. You look at the game yesterday, and if Elanga's not on the bench, who's on the bench? So I can see Elanga staying, not because he's good enough to stay. He needs development. He needs to go on loan. But I can see him staying because we just haven't. they're not going to give him a replacement. I think Ten Hag will be presented with this. Dortmund want Elanga. Do you want to let him go? Are you going to get me another option if I let Elanga go? No. Well, I can't let him go then, can I? And I think that will be the problem. I don't think it will be because we shouldn't be letting him go. But Sancho's our new signing. Well, you're an idiot if you're saying that. You may as well get a Glazers in t-shirt on. I mean, if you're counting Jadon Sancho as a new signing, you're a prat. Jadon Sancho on the bench yesterday is not a striker. He's not a centre attacking midfielder. He's a winger. Jadon Sancho coming on for Antony would have been nice yesterday. Jadon Sancho coming on for Rashford to give him a rest would have been nice yesterday. But he's one player that we've already got for 18 months. He's not a new signing. He's very welcome back. We desperately need him back. But he's not a new signing. And he doesn't solve the centre defensive midfield issue. He doesn't solve the number 10 issue. And he doesn't solve the striker issue that is still there. I mean, what's happened with the striker issue, by the way, is that Weghorst was an interesting option to come in to replace Ronaldo. What he's actually done is replaced Martial, which means we're still 2 strikers short because we didn't replace Cavani and we didn't replace Ronaldo. Weghorst has immediately replaced Martial. He has not replaced Ronaldo. So we are still massively short in the striking area. There you go. Could you do a Makuku for Elanga swap deal? Start staring us in the face as Taylor. Well, it wouldn't be a swap deal because Makuku is out of contract in the summer. So Dortmund would want some money for it, whereas we're looking to loan Elanga. Would I swap Elanga, the player, for Makuku? If that's what you're talking about, yes, I would. Do I think Man United would do that? No, I don't. I mean, it might be worth having the conversation and saying, do you want to do a swap deal for Elanga? But I don't think Dortmund would do it. If I'm absolutely honest, I don't think that they would. Can you talk to us about Antony, Mark? Right, I will talk to you about Antony. Please smash a like on the video and subscribe. I'm going to preview the Arsenal game at 2 o'clock unless there's any breaking news, by the way. I just want to get straight into that Arsenal preview because I think we know what we've got. And I think it's fresh from last night. So I think I'll do the Arsenal preview at 2 o'clock live. In relation to Antony, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that everyone's got to give him a year because he's a new signing. But I do think there is some truth in that. He is a new signing. He's a player that Erik Ten Hag knows really well. It's a player that Erik Ten Hag wants. If you're calling Antony a flop, you're calling out Erik Ten Hag for not knowing what he's doing. I think that's my mentality on this. Look, I like Antony. Do I like what he's doing in a United shirt? No. I think he does slow the game down. I don't think he's direct enough. I think he gets the ball and stops. And in fact, there was an occasion in the second half where I think he was sprinting. Maybe it was the first half. He was in a sprint against Hughes. He gets there and stops. I'm like, you've got there and you're in. Keep running. You're quicker than him. And he stopped. I don't know whether anyone can remember that. And I was like, you're quicker than Will Hughes. You've got there ahead of him. You're in down the right-hand side. Keep sprinting. And he stopped. So I don't like that. I don't like that from Antony. I think that needs to stop. He needs to be more direct. He needs, slowing the game down. That's not what we want. We don't want a winger who just stops and cuts inside. You've got to use your ability, which he definitely has. He's shown it. So yeah, there's improvement to be had there, but I'll go back to what I just said there. This is not a player that Ten Hag has inherited, where you could go, look, Ten Hag ultimately doesn't fancy him, let's get rid of him. This is a player that Ten Hag bought, that has managed for the last couple of years. I find it odd. I find it a little bit odd, the abuse that Antony gets, and yet the same people will say Ten Hag's amazing. I think the mentality to have around Antony is this is Ten Hag's player. He chose him. He's worked with him. He's saying he's a Man United player. So even if it just balances the scales a little bit, I feel like at the moment there's a lot of fans who are dead against Antony. Just get it in your head, if you are one of those fans, that Ten Hag really wanted him. And then with the positivity and, like you have for Ten Hag, hopefully that will balance it out with Antony. Because Ten Hag got it wrong if Antony flops. So I'm putting my trust in Ten Hag. And also, I haven't seen the player he was at Ajax yet. I don't think he's playing with any freedom. I don't think he's, I think there's a lot of work to be done there. But it's very early days. You say people are entitled to opinions, but when Ten Hag got a low score, you say they don't know football. Don't forget these people are why you provide for your family. Isaac, you know nothing about my life, and you're talking completely out of your arse. Weird is Super Chat of 2023. Okay, so basically Isaac thinks I should go live and basically arse-lick every live chat because I'll be on the streets if I don't. Weird. Okay, I'm not going to apologise for that. I will say it again. Erik Ten Hag's player rating from you last night was 5.8. Below average. You don't know football. Sorry, you don't. Like, that was just fans, and I've been there. That is just, it's like when a player gets a 2. I've seen players get 2. That's ridiculous. That's just frustration. Why was Erik Ten Hag's rating below average last night? Somebody just give me some answer. Give me an answer. Why was Ten Hag's rating below average last night? Very, very difficult game. I think it's our 8th game in the space of 3 weeks. We've been playing a game every 3 or 4 days. He hasn't got a very deep squad. We're away to Crystal Palace. First half's really, really good. Second half team runs out of energy. Bench is crap. Why is that a below average performance from Ten Hag as a manager? What do you want him to do? Do you want him to magic up Jack Grealish and Mahrez from the bench to go and win us the game like Pep can? Like, I get the frustration, I'm frustrated, but giving Ten Hag a low score on the manager rating last night, for me, was just reactionary and wasn't based on anything to do with reality, in my opinion. But, look, at the end of the day, it is a democracy, and what makes me laugh is it completely contradicts what Isaac said, is that player rating system is not mine. Now, if you go onto the Manchester Evening News and look at the player ratings, that is Samuel Luckhurst giving you, thousands of you, his own opinion. If Samuel Luckhurst gives Wan-Bissaka an 8, that's because Samuel Luckhurst is giving him an 8, and you're all reading it, and he is your god. You know, that is one journalist dictating to you what the score for one player was. What we do is we give thousands of you an opportunity to vote, and then it's there. So thousands of you felt that Ten Hag yesterday was below average. You've had your voice. I disagree with it as an individual, but the majority are against me. That's what having a voice is all about. So I completely disagree with it as an individual. I can't understand why Ten Hag was below average last night. And if it's because he picked Casemiro, I guarantee the same people would have gone mad if we'd got beat 4-0 because McTominay's a crap CDM and said we should have picked Casemiro. I just think it's frustration. I think Ten Hag's done a fantastic job, and I don't know I don't actually know what more Ten Hag could have done to win that game. He could have left Casemiro out so he can play against Arsenal, but we wouldn't have won. There was nothing he could do to win that game more than he did. There's nobody fit, available, or on that bench that changes the way he picks the team or the tactics. So I felt it was a bit harsh on Ten Hag last night. Here, Marks, to support your family, not like you've never worked another job, says Ike. It's not like I haven't got another job as well, like, you know, but whatever. Just not... Mark, who else could we get on loan that's someone useful, says Blaze. These are really good points. I was asked this last night on the watch along. I don't know. I don't know who I would bring in, but it's not. I don't get paid to scout good opportunities. I didn't know that Weghorst was available from Besiktas. So this is where you need good scouts. This is where you need good recruitment. I guarantee you there will be players out there who can help us, who are at clubs that would loan them to us now, just like Weghorst. But whether we're going to do that or not, I don't know. I still haven't seen any reason why Ten Hag got such a low mark last night. But that happens. Oh, God. You know, this channel is riddled with my reactions to games where I've completely lost it. And an hour later, I'm like, calm down. But look, when you've won a game, and then you draw a game in the last 2 minutes, you've got to find a reason. Somebody always got to be blamed, yeah? You can't blame De Gea because the free kick is fantastic. You can't blame the defence because they played really, really well. It's a bit boring to say the attack were tired. So, you want to pin it on somebody else. And I think some people were unfairly pinning it on Ten Hag last night. But these things happen. You know what? We might have a worse result on Sunday, and then it'll be very interesting to see how people react, because there's no doubt about it. Arsenal are strong favourites on Sunday. They were anyway. And when you lose your best player, who's also a midfielder, it makes it very difficult. Bring Carrick back and play him versus Arsenal, says Sammy. Thanks, everyone. Don't miss the preview for Arsenal at 2 o'clock. Unless there's some big breaking news about something, we'll do it at 2 o'clock, because I just want to get on with it. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Hope you have a good day. I've just put a video up on That's Football, actually, about Arsenal signing Trossard. There's some interesting points in there that are related to United, so maybe check that out. 2 o'clock on the preview, 7 o'clock for the United stand tonight, because I'm doing a watch-along at 8 o'clock, Spurs against Man City. And also, the Manchester United career mode is back with Goldbridge at the wheel at 3 o'clock on Twitch. Take care, everyone.